Hey guys, I haven't seen you in forever. It's been quite a few years since I've actually taken YouTube seriously. I just got wrapped up in life. Since I last saw you, I finished my education. I was studying naturopathic and Chinese medicine. I got my master's. I declined to get my doctorate. I'm going to go a little bit more into my story. But basically, if you are waking up to the modern medical model that isn't serving your health and vitality, you're going to want to watch this because I've put something together that I think is going to support my community in a way that is accessible, and I'm going to educate you in a way that could potentially change your life and your family's life just with food and healing. The wild thing about Chinese medicine is it's been around for thousands of years, and most health trends barely stay around for more than a decade. So if you think about that, there must be something to it. And after studying for 15 years, $450,000 invested, I've come to the conclusion of what I think is the most healing, but I come at it from a different mindset, I think, than most people because I grew up with a very sick mom most of my life, and that had a huge impact on me. We were also homeless by the time I was 8 years old, so I know what it's like to not have the access to care and healing that you need because it's just inaccessible. And a lot of the forms of medicine that I've learned aren't even covered by insurance. So there's a whole other, interesting dynamic to that where the truest forms of healing are really hard to get to for the average person because we're given so much misinformation. And I feel responsible for sharing that with you guys because that's what I studied this all for, not just to make money. I would like to make money. I'd like to pay back my loans, of course. But I was just pissed, in all honesty. I was pissed that I had to watch my mom be sick. I was pissed that I watched her get endless prescriptions that she accumulated over her lifetime. And by the time that she passed away, she filled up the biggest, largest trash bag. She didn't do it. We did it. We filled up the biggest, largest trash can bag you can find with all the pharmaceuticals that she had been accumulating for her life. And that was pretty depressing. And now I work more in the coaching element because it just works with my lifestyle. But I still want to pull on the wisdom of the medicine that I've learned that actually cares about healing. And I want to share it with you in a way that is incredibly accessible. And what I'm providing with this ebook is basically, if you tried to go get it done, if I tried to go get this done by like the regular channels of figuring out this wisdom, it would be like a $1,500 experience to go get assessed, get a 3 to 4 hour intake by a Chinese medicine practitioner, a nutritionist, then get a meal plan and all of the recipes for a week full of like 5 meals a day. That's just, it cost a lot of money to get that. And that's exactly what my mom needed, but never had access to. So now I feel like I'm doing the work that she needed because that's why I think God put that experience in my life, to do something about it. And I feel really passionate about that. So now that you understand why I'm doing this and how valuable it is, if you haven't already checked out the link, I'm going to give you more reasons too. So if you get the book, you're going to find this recipe in there. It's my favorite. And I have to thank my friend Isaac, who some of you guys know me from his channel, because he's the one who told me I need to get this information out to you guys. This is stuff that I'm passionate about. People within my close, intimate circle know all about this, but I haven't been sharing it on my social media, and I don't know why, so I think it's time that I finally start. So while we're on the topic, go ahead and go to the link in my bio and go and check out my new ebook called Nourish and Thrive. It's making Chinese medicine simple and easy to digest with a meal plan, a cookbook, and a bunch of recipes that are all in the meal plan, along with explaining what these typical challenges in Chinese medicine are that most Americans have, but we have no idea about in modern medicine. In this book, I'm going to teach you about the 3 main challenges that we see in Chinese medicine that are incredibly common in Western society, but very commonly unaddressed. And it is such an interesting dynamic. So let's start with the first one. Liver qi stagnation. This is huge. Basically, the liver in Chinese medicine is kind of the ox of the holographic system that we call, the organ system in Chinese medicine. And the liver is the sponge, essentially, of the blood, but it also is cleaning and recycling and detoxing us from all of the things that could be in our body that could be burdening it. So it's the workhorse, which is why it's the ox. And when this ox gets clogged like a dirty sponge from all of the dirty things that are in our diets, it affects the flow of our blood. And then you think about maybe like a freeway during rush hour traffic. How do you feel when it's stop, go, things aren't running smoothly? There's irritation, there's frustration, quick temperedness, because you're just not getting that free flow of movement that you're desiring. The same thing happens in your liver. So when your liver starts getting stagnant in the chi, the energy, gets stagnant in the liver, you start getting frustrated. But also, there's a lack of flow with your blood in the entire system. So for women, during PMS, the tenderness that we'll have in our breasts will be a lot more than the average person. Our periods will be a lot more painful and they'll be filled with clots. We'll have stools that can go from like runny and loose and soft to constipation. It's very inconsistent. Our eyes will start to decrease in their visual acuity, and they'll also tend to get dry. We'll be more likely to injure our muscles and sinews and joints and tendons and have a slower healing time. I don't know if I just said that. We'll also just find that we feel overworked, exhausted, and what are other symptoms? Those are some pretty big ones. When it starts to get more progressed, it will lead to implicating the heart as well. So, panic attacks, that sort of thing can come later down the road. So a lot of these things that I'm talking to, they don't just affect the physical. They affect the energetic, the emotional, the spiritual, which was why I chose this medicine as my form of healing, of like the main way that I help people heal, because it's holistic and it's intact, and most forms of medicine are not. In modern days, especially in spiritual communities, healing communities, they're pulling a little bit from here, a little bit from there, and it's kind of this smorgasbord that isn't synergistic. There's many different forms of medicine that you can practice, but many forms of medicine will tell you don't mix medicines because they are not cohesive with each other. You know what I mean? And then the next one so what I do with this meal book and meal plan and recipe book, cookbook, is I teach you just the very basic cliff notes of what liver qi stagnation is. I tell you what foods to avoid and I tell you what foods to implement. So it makes it easy for you. I didn't make this to be a fancy thing. I made it very simply. One of the recipes, this is just a snack, but is apples and seed butter. Why? Because it's very straightforward. It's very easy. It's sweet. It has the fats that you need. It has some protein that you need. It gets you some of those vitamins and minerals that come from the apple. Very simple. But it's not about being fancy. And I think we've really gotten lost in the health trends world of like, it has to be this like, we got to have the shilajit and we've got to have this ancient root from this place and that. And it's like, that's a lot. And it doesn't make it accessible for most people. So again, I try to make this super simple, and you'd be surprised how simple some of these things are, so that even a high schooler, which is what this book was originally made for, one of my high school clients, so that they could address some of these issues that they were having, where someone might diagnose them with bipolar. I would see it's more liver qi stagnation. And if you address liver qi stagnation, the symptoms of the bipolar are actually going to decrease. That's just what I've seen in clinic, anecdotally. That's my opinion, and I'm going to stand by that. The next thing I like to address is blood deficiency. I can't tell you how many people I see that are blood deficient because our diets are just so deficient. Our soil is deficient. The quality of the food that we get is deficient. And we're monocropping, we're robbing the soil of its nutrients, and what used to be nutritious 50, 100 years ago is greatly depleted comparatively. So we have to work harder to make sure that we maintain that, but we also have been conditioned to be further away from genuine nutrition. You go in the store and you can't find something that hasn't been processed and filled with sugar. It's so hard. And so I wanted to create some awareness around this. And the way that blood deficiency starts to show up when you know it's starting to get progressed is you start to get under eye circles. You start to look more pale. Your nails start to get affected. Your tongue, mine is a little on the pale side, but it gets really pale. Oh, that's my black rice, sorry. But you can, I do tongue diagnosis in Chinese medicine as well, and I read the pulse. Because what we find is that in modern medicine, we look at numbers. We quantify everyone down to numbers. But the truth is, two different people could run a mile and we'd be like, oh, that's great for you. One person, it's going to be awesome for them. Another person, it's going to be the worst thing they can do, especially if they're blood deficient. And it's not about what you're doing. It's not about the numbers of what you're doing. It's about the quality. How is the blood perfusing through the body? Right now, it's telling me you could be a little bit better about your nutrition, which is true. I started my day off with coffee. I don't recommend that. It's just my van's in the shop. I'm at Isaac and Jaylina's. I'm a little displaced. My life day to day isn't super stable, but I know the best way to get me back to stability is by eating nourishing food. And you'll find by the time I finish this, the color in my tongue will actually start to come back. And when I feel the pulse, I can feel if there is a deficiency by how thin the pulse is and how robust the pulse is. And maybe it's too robust, which is more about excess. So there's just a depth of understanding energy and the way it expresses itself that is ancient and incredibly wise. So with blood deficiency, I start to see hair loss. I start to see the pale tongue, pale skin, exhaustion, fatigue, easily irritable, easily anxious, frightened easily. Sleep usually is impacted. Energy reserves are just completely depleted. Drinking caffeine will make them more tired, and disturbance in menstruation, forgetfulness, brain fog, cold hands and feet sometimes, and again, slow healing, that sort of thing. So that's the second thing that gets addressed in this book. And then thirdly is healing, that sort of thing. So that's the second thing that gets addressed in this book. And then thirdly is stomach heat, which with the modern standard American diet is excessive. Most people have stomach heat in some capacity. And the thing that I did learn from naturopathic medicine is that serotonin is produced in your gut, in your stomach. 400 times more serotonin is produced in your stomach than it is in your mind. So if your stomach is upset, your spirit and your emotions are going to be upset. So let's heal your stomach. And so we address a lot of the things that add heat to your stomach. And some of the stomach heat signs are going to be acid reflux, indigestion, any of the digestive disorders, especially the chronic ones. This book addresses 90% of the issues I see come into the clinic. And this is after working in the field for about a decade now. So my hope is that you'll find this book. I'm going to be honest with you, it's $47. And I know to some people that might feel like a really big investment. That's less than what it would cost you for a single visit, especially an initial visit with a naturopath, a single visit with an acupuncturist. And I love you guys, and I want to provide something that is accessible to you while I also have this insane debt. I just found out that my school has had the largest debt to income ratio in the nation. Isn't that weird? And then out of the top 10 schools, 5 of them were similar schools to mine. So it's almost like it was systemically designed for us to learn this information and be charged so much and be so far into debt that we can only give it to you if you give us a lot of money, because we have this insane debt to pay back. The way I'm being creative about it is sharing this information in a way that's accessible for you, that will last you for the rest of your life, that will also help me get out of debt, honestly. But it's in the best way that I can do it, that feels the most ethical to what I believe in. So if you have any questions about Chinese medicine, you're curious about the cookbook, the meal plans, etc., go ahead and pop them down in the comments. If you like this type of video where I'm just educating you, let me know. This is different, but I feel that it is necessary, and I really want to do what I can to help my communities in ways that the medical system failed my mom. And if my mom would have had this and applied it to her life, she'd still be here today. I can say that with certainty. And it's unfortunate that a lot of people will never see the day of light of this wisdom and this medicine. And I hope to change that. And if you get the book and you love it and you start to notice some shifts, please share it with the people that you care about, because healing is the most beautiful gift that we can ever give to anyone. Yep. That's about all I have to say about that. So if you have any questions, you know where to put them. And it's good to see you guys again. I missed you. And if you like this content, I'll make some more for you in the future. Take care. Be well.